Welcome to Small Talk, Big Stories. I'm your host, Tom, and my guest today has lived more than one lifetime. A soldier, business owner, and now a voice for change in local politics. He's built things from the ground up, and now he's focused on rebuilding something bigger, his community. Ricky, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So if we go back to the beginning,
Yeah.
where did you grow up and what was your childhood?
Yeah, so I grew up in Hastings.
Yep.
And I grew up with my mum at the time, who was, she was a single mother, raising me and my brother.
Okay.
When I was about 10, 11 years old, she met my father now, that's my stepfather. And just grew up in Hastings my whole life, really.
What was school life like for you?
School was on hit and miss, really. School, I wasn't really the calmest kid, so I used to get distracted quite a lot. I never struggled with learning. I never struggled with, the reading and the writing and stuff like that at a young age. But I sort of used to, I suppose, sort of just dumb it down a little bit to stay relevant, like with your peers and stuff like that. Because it was a lot like that back then. But I always used to have this sort of feeling in me that I had to dumb it down a little bit, because looking back now I've had my ADHD diagnosis.
Okay.
I understand that actually I was a bit more advanced and I was actually trying to slow down to stay, in
Stay
with the other
the
kids
crowd,
and that. So a real struggle, but I never really enjoyed it. I always wanted to get out and work.
Okay.
I always wanted to just do something different.
I know you started working quite young, didn't you?
I started working really young. I was about 14 when I got my first job.
Okay.
I was just washing up in a local restaurant. Absolutely loved it, and then I started doing some work experience in a garage. It was just that hands-on experience that just sort of, I suppose it set me up for my life, that I wasn't going to really be academic. I needed to be more hands-on. Yeah. And sort of go down that line.
So what did you? What was your next sort of step?
So so I left school. When I left school, I tried college for a little bit. I went to Eastbourne College and done panel beating and spraying on cars. Didn't really get on with it. No. So I left college and I actually had my first child when I was only 17.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I had a child young, and at the time I was working in Stamco, the old Stamco used to be down on the seafront.
Yeah.
And I loved it at the time, and the boss there, he was a real good guy, and he was always looking to progress people and stuff like that. So I started working in the yard, and when I was in the yard, he was encouraging me to do like my forklift license and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I always found that I would do something for a little while and then get a bit bored of it.
Okay.
And then
That's
want to do something
ADHD.
different. Yeah, 100%. I didn't realise at the time why, but I would always sort of think, well, there's nowhere really much more I can go in here. I want to do something different. And so with being a father so young as well, I sort of sat there and thought, what sort of role model am I for my daughter? I need to actually do something with my life. I felt like I'd wasted a bit of it. So on my lunch break, I actually decided to just go the recruiting office used to be just opposite the yard.
Yeah, I remember.
So I went in there on my lunch break.
Okay.
And just thought, I'm just going to join the army.
Okay.
Right? And I had no clue.
No plan.
No, nothing. I didn't know anything about it. And so, but I just thought, I've got to step up. I've got to be someone. I've got to be a role model for my children. Do you know what I mean? For my child, of course. And so I went in there, and a guy called Simon was the recruiting officer. And I went in, and he asked me, what did I want to do? And I said, well, I want to be a pilot.
Okay.
And he said, well, have you got any, GCSEs, A-level, stuff like that? I said, no, I haven't got any of that. And he said, look, you're not going to be a pilot.
No.
He said, but look, you're a tall lad. I've got a perfect job for you. And he pulled out a little leaflet, and it was a guy on the front, and he had a coconut with a straw, and he was laying on a lounger, And then there was all sorts of other little subsections as well. And there was a tiny little box in the corner of a guy with his bare skin and tunic and all that lot staggering on. And I didn't really think too much of it, but he just said, listen, this will be perfect for you. So I thought, okay, fine, that's what I'm going to do. I signed up that day, and without hesitation, I just went and quit my job.
Okay.
Yeah, I just went and quit my job because a couple of days later I was going up to do selection.
Oh, really? It was that quick?
Yeah, literally within a couple of days. I mean, this was in 2004. So at the time as well, there was a mad drive for recruitment.
Yeah.
You know, because there was the wars in the Middle East going on.
Yeah, of course.
And so yeah, I went up for my selection. I had no clue what I was going up, like what I had to do or anything like that. But I've always got that mentality that, listen, cross that bridge when you come to it. You know, if you've got it in here, you can achieve anything. If you really want something, you can go and get it. Do you know what I mean? Go and do it. And so I went up, and you had to do like a basic fitness test. And you know, I wasn't the fittest kid. Do you know what I mean? But I passed selection.
So that's the 1.5 mile run.
You do a 1.5 mile run under 10 minutes, I believe it was. And then you have to do a heavy carry with 2 jerry cans, lift them up onto the back of a Bedford. And then you have to do, I believe it was 50 press ups, 50 sit ups. Yeah. And yeah, that was just like the basic pass rate at the time. I was surprised actually that, because I'd never done any fitness prior to that in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was surprised to see that there was around about 20 lads up there, and only like 10 of us managed to sort of pass this
through,
basic selection thing. And I thought, this is crazy. But I thought, well, I must be all right for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Passed the selection, went back to my recruiting office, and within 2 weeks, I was shipped up to Catterick, North Yorkshire, to start my basic training.
What regiment was it that you joined?
It was in the Coldstream Guards.
Okay.
So nice. So I remember getting on a train, and again, still, I didn't really understand exactly what I was going into, but I just thought that, listen, I've made this decision, I've made this choice, I'm going to do better for my kid, and I'm going to go and do it. So it was 6 months that I was actually doing training.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I remember at the time as well, I had hair then as well, so I had big curtains, and I actually had the blonde streaks in it, like we did back then.
Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, and I got on a train, and I'd never been any further north than, like South London, just seeing family and that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm on a train on my own, and I'm going up there, and I've got to change at Waterloo, I think it was, and do like a 5-hour train journey,
and you
up
was
to North Yorkshire.
18 at the time.
Yeah, 18. Yeah,
so
just turned 18.
Still just a kid, really.
Yeah, massively. And long train journey up there, and just thinking, what am I going into here? What do I need to do? Who am I going to meet, and this, that, and the other. And as the train started getting closer to Catterick, all these other boys started getting on. Okay. From everywhere, everywhere. And no one sort of spoke to each other. So there was a whole train full of boys that were going up to do this training for different regiments and stuff like that. But no one spoke. It was weird.
I think that's like a typical teenage.
It was really weird. I think,
sort of thing, though.
I think everyone was going through the same thing, in their head, going, "Well, do you know what I mean? What am I doing?" And when the train pulled up, I remember looking out the window, and you got all these big, hardened guys. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They look like they're not going to fuck around, and they're all there in their berries and the Scottish regiments and that with their kilts, and they look like big, scary bastards. Do you know what I mean? And we got off the train, and as soon as we started dismounting the train, they just start shouting. And they've got a list of people who are going to their regiments to do their training. And they're just shouting out names. And I'm thinking, fucking hell. And he just shouted out, Hodges. I thought, right, that's me. And I've gone up. And he's come over. And he didn't even, it wasn't, how you doing? Welcome, this, that, and the other. It's like, right, get over there.
Yeah.
And you went over there, and there was there was, I think on that train there was about 8 of us that were in the same regiment.
Yeah.
In the Guards regiments that were going for training, and they rounded us up and would put us in a coach, and we went down to the barracks in Catterick, and as soon as we got off the bus, they said, right, you're going to stand here in 2 ranks, I think it was at the time. Stand here in 2 ranks, and we're going to march down to the thing. Well, none of us had marched in our life. Do you know what I mean? We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah,
it's like Monty Python scene. Do you know what I mean? And we just, everyone's just like this, just marching down to the block. And the first thing they do is, take away your identity. So the first thing you do, you line up in the corridor, and there's one chair at the end, and you've all got to stand there, and you go through, and the first thing you do, you sit down, and they bick all your hair.
Yeah.
So my curtains, my beloved hair was just gone straight away, and all of a sudden I was just this, I wasn't a person anymore.
Yeah.
But that's the whole process of it, you have to break down a person to build them back up to how you need them to be. Do you know what I mean? And that's exactly what the army was back then. And I remember my first day there, just learning how to sew a button on and have a shave. I mean, I didn't even have any facial hair. Do you know what I mean? But I was just shaving every day
anyway,
and stuff like that. So it was a surreal experience. Tough. Yeah. Real tough.
That's what my next question was going to be. Was there any moments that you thought, I can't do this?
So the way it works is you have 6 weeks. So the first 6 weeks, essentially you can drop out.
Okay.
And you can go. And then what happens is on 6 weeks, they invite family up. So they can come and see you at 6 weeks. And it's another test, because it's kind of like, are you really prepared for what you're about to do? Mm-hmm. Because if you go beyond that 6 week period and you decide to stay, that's it. You're signed up, because they're going to invest a lot of money and time in training you to do what you need to do. Yeah. And it was tough, because that was the first time I'd seen my daughter. I hadn't been away from her. And all of a sudden I've been away from her for 6 weeks in this absolutely weird scenario, like different. All of a sudden, I'm in a 20-man room, and I've got a little metal bed and a locker that I've got to keep,
pristine.
Like we would have little, we had little cards which how all of our sleeves would have had to be, and your socks had to be rolled in a certain way, and your locker had to be laid out in a certain way. All this stuff, you're ironing every morning. You're doing this. Yeah. You'd iron your kit, and they'd take you on an assault course, and then right, make sure that's washed and ironed again and ready for a show parade in the morning. Yeah, and you're like, oh, the hell, where's my mum? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so after 6 weeks, that's it. Then you've got to do it, and you can leave, but if you leave, I don't know what it is now, but you used to have to be bought out.
Oh, okay.
So because the money they're putting in, they'd have to put you out, or if they kicked you out, then it was a bit different.
Yeah.
But after the 6 weeks, then the whole tone changed. So you can imagine the first 6 weeks, it was sort of like, you're shaving your head, they're teaching you how to thing, you're doing a bit of fitness, and if I remember rightly, I don't think we was on the ranges in the first 6 weeks. I don't think we'd done any. We was sort of learning weapons handling, how to dismantle it and put it back together and clean it and
maintenance
stuff like that. But it was more self-maintenance, really.
Okay.
So it's more sort of keeping yourself fit, healthy, clean, this, that, and the other. And it was all to, set you up for what was to come. So you was confident that your hygiene and your
because if you're out on a
all that sort of stuff,
on a mission or something, you need to make sure that you're
and organised as well. So that was what the first 6 weeks were, and then after that it turned. So when I saw my daughter, it was a real tough decision then to say whether I was going to stay or not. But again, I just had that overwhelming urge that I'm doing this for her. I'm doing this for her.
Creating that better life.
I didn't do well in school. There was no opportunities out of there, really. So this is my opportunity. This is where I've got to really show what I'm worth and prove to myself that I am capable of doing what I want to do. Do you know what I mean? And just pushing yourself all the time. Just push. You know, you can do absolutely anything if you put your heart in. If you believe in yourself, you can do anything.
I think people underestimate the actual power of belief.
100%. 100%.
And they're quick to quit. But really, if they just put that little bit extra in, that can make a big difference.
Yeah, massively. And so then after that, training become much more intense, and really tough, really tough. I mean, at that point there, once you stay after that 6 weeks, they're like, right, your ass is mine now.
Yeah.
You're gonna see, I'm gonna break you. I'm gonna break you, and if you can take it, and if you can stand tall and keep your head high and move and push forward, then that's when I'll give you my respect.
Yeah.
And I remember throughout the whole process, you know, I mean, I won't talk too much about it because there's probably a lot of stuff that wouldn't be allowed nowadays. You know what I mean? But
I can imagine.
You know, you would get absolutely beasted. You would get beasted. I remember I smoked as well at the time, and there was a few of us smoked, and our platoon sergeant absolutely hated smokers.
Oh, okay.
And so if I remember we were going to the ranges, and when you're on the ranges, you're all sitting there and you're cleaning your weapons, getting your weapons prepared, and this, that, and the other. And he would come up. He wasn't there all the time. It was normally your section commanders that would train you in your different platoons. And when he turned up, he was Irish, so Northern Ireland vet. Horrible bastard. You know, but you really respected him because you knew, you know. I mean,
he's the real deal.
He's the real deal. Do you know what I mean? He ain't here to fuck about. He's seen the shit. He's been in the shit. Mm-hmm. You know, if anyone's gonna teach you how to,
he's the guy.
He's the guy. Yeah. But he absolutely hates smokers. So he would turn up and he'd say, right, all you lot that smoke, you got any fags or backy with you? And you'd be like, I will go through your bags. You know what I mean? So get out. Yeah. Get your fags and that out. He goes, I fucking hate smokers. And there was a firing position on the ranges, and it was basically in like a little ditch, and to stop it filling up with rain, they would put like rubber lids on.
Okay, yeah.
And he said, right, all your fags, he said, take them with you, and he'd put you in this firing position in this hole, and he'd put the lid on. He said, you're not coming out till you've smoked all your fags. I will teach you what smoking does to your fucking body. You will not come out until you've smoked all them fags. You know, and you're in there.
Yeah.
Fuck. But do you know what? The next time we've done the ranges, no one bought any fags.
No, of course.
You know? Yeah. And it's those sort of little things that you don't even realise that actually, you know, it's that discipline that he's teaching you discipline. Be disciplined. If you can't, you know, if I tell you to do something, you're going to do it. And you know, and that's it, and that's how it all works. It's character building, you know.
Yeah,
it's character. People see it, and the problem is now people see that as bullying.
Yeah,
and it's not. It's just not. You've signed up to go into an environment where you're going to be sent to war. If you can't handle that, you're not going to handle
the battlefield.
No, at all.
No.
You know, you're not going to handle watching your mates get. You know, you're not going to handle. We've got to go through that compound. You know, we've got to breach that wall. We've got to breach that compound. We've got to do that. If you're there, you know, it's not. You're not going to work. It's not going to work. But it built me. It really did. It built me, and it gave me confidence in my own ability as well, in myself, and it also just being around the other lads. You know, that sense of brotherhood, and you're all in it together.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of men are lacking now.
Absolutely,
days, especially with like the mental health crisis and stuff.
So many people that have left the army really struggle. I think their biggest struggle is that sense of belonging. Mm-hmm. And when they leave, you know, loads of blokes, they've had enough. I want to get out. They've done their time. You know, I want to get out, and I want to be at home with my family and stuff like that. And the idea of it is amazing. But then once you leave,
this is the reality.
The reality hits you, and you sit there on your own, and it's quiet. You know, when you're in camp, you know, no man will get left behind. If there's a party, and you ain't got no money, the other lads come
spot you.
Exactly. You know, never leave anyone behind. And it was, I mean, the maddest. The drinking sessions that were just crazy.
Yeah, I know. I know the drinking culture is quite,
really bad. Which is. which is mad, really. Do you
Mm.
know what I mean? But that's how you cope with it. That's how you all. That's what you've done as young lads. You know,
Yeah.
you're going out. You want to go and have a drink and party and do all this stuff. You know, and then the next morning, you know, we'd go out. We'd go out, get back to camp at 4:00 in the morning, absolutely smashed, and then get up 2 hours later and go and do an 8-mile run. Do you know what I mean? And everyone's just like, you know, it would be a funny thing. We'd push ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
So if we knew we had a big physical event coming up, like you'd have a combat fitness test, and that was really tough. So you had to tab, which is a fast walk.
Yep.
Weighted with all your kits. You'd have a Bergen, and I can't remember the exact weight, but it was about 40 pound in your Bergen, weapon, everything like that. And you'd go out, and a PTI would take you, and you just keep this consistent pace.
They're beasts as well.
But Bruce, yeah, oh yeah. You know, and they've
absolute tanks.
You know, they've got a pillowcase in their bag.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I can do it. You know, and but yeah, you'd. It used to be a running thing where if we knew we had a CFT in the morning, we'd go on the lash. And we'd just see who can get the absolute, you know, who is the worst one, who's going to be throwing up. And it don't matter if you're throwing up, you keep walking, you keep tabbing, because if you drop out of that, that's it. So everyone, you know, this is the sort of stuff we'd do. You know, we'd just go and get on it, and then just go and get absolutely beasted in the morning. It was kind of like we were conditioned to it. You know, so it's kind of like we're pushing the boundaries to see how
far you can take it.
Yeah. And I suppose that sort of mentality stayed with me into where I am now. You know, and it, you know, that anything's possible. You know, don't ever let these invisible boundaries and walls hold you back from doing anything. You know, if you want to do it, go and do it. And even if you can't do it, failure. You have to fail to succeed. You know, you have to fail to learn and understand and make and adapt to that. You know, so if I failed and I failed for this reason, I know now that the next time I do it, as long as I can adapt and overcome that issue that I had, then I'm going to achieve my goal. And that's what it's all about. You know, you shouldn't be disheartened by failure. Everyone fails. You know, everyone's going to fail at some point in their life. And the most successful people in the world, you know, they will tell you they've had more failures than successes. And that's what makes you who you are. That's what those life lessons are, what make you, you know, inspire you to really go, right, I understand that now. I'm going to fix that and I'm going to move on. Yeah.
After your training, where did you then get?
So I've done 2 tours in Afghanistan.
Okay.
And again, it's weird. It's really weird. You know, you get on when you go on tour, you do so much training building up to it. Training for best part of a year. You are doing high intensity training. You're going away. You're doing 8-week exercises. You're coming back. You know, you're having a couple of days at home with your family, and then straight back into it. You're doing range days. You're doing, I mean, down here locally at Lid ranges.
Okay.
They're real good ranges. So they're not like the ranges that you would typically think of. You know, you're in a prone position, you're firing at a target. You know, just nothing around you. Big man with targets coming up. At Lid, it's actually a live firing exercise. So you've got moving targets. You're actually moving yourself. So you're learning, you know, flanking, and you're learning leapfrog movements, covering fire, suppressing fire, moving. You even do grenades down there as well, where you post grenades through, stuff like that. They've got a Fibua village down there, they did. A Fibua village, it was set out for Northern Ireland. Here's the thing, back when on my first tour of Afghan in 2007, the British Army was still using equipment from Northern Ireland. It's a very different scenario. For example, we were still using Snatches. Now, Snatches are armoured Land Rover. It has a top cover position, but it doesn't have a mounted weapon on the top. So it's basically just a hole in the roof. And you have to, there's 4 or 5 of you in the back of this Land Rover.
Yep.
And one of you's having to stand on someone else's bag just to be able to stand at the top with your rifle. They weren't protective against IEDs. And it was just all old equipment, We weren't prepared for it at all. And unfortunately, a lot of boys lost their lives because of the the failures to invest in the right equipment for us in that scenario. So the Fibua village is essentially a mock street, mock village.
Yeah, makes sense.
And you go in there and you're not firing live rounds, but you've got 2-2, which are like BBs essentially. And you still had like the targets that would come up were like, a Northern Ireland, like an IRA member in the thing, and they're putting like IEDs or fake IEDs in bins and stuff like that as you go through. So a lot of the training was still based over Northern Ireland. Even out on exercises, it was still based on Northern Ireland. These old concrete villages and that you're going in. When you go out to Afghan, it's completely different.
Yeah.
You've got every place is a compound, so they have an outer wall, and then some of them might even have an inner wall before you actually get to there.
Essentially, it didn't transfer very well.
No, not at all. But again, it was that intense, constant training, and then you don't really think about it at the time. And then the night before you get deployed, it's like, right, go home, say goodbye to your loved ones, and you go home, and then you come in about midnight, and you've written a will, you've got insurance out on yourself and stuff like that, all done, for you. Sign here, do this, blah blah blah.
Sounds quite
intense. and then you sort of sign this paperwork and that, and you're like, right, well, this is it then. This is what I've been trained to do. This is this is part of the job. This is what I've got to go and do. And again, it's weird because you're with all the other lads and you're just messing about, you're joking, you're not really taking it too seriously. You get on the plane and you go Brize Norton, and then you get on a TriStar and you fly to Dubai, and you transfer in Dubai into a Hercules.
Okay.
And so when you get transferred, you're in Dubai. You don't see any of Dubai. You're just in this camp. And you get on the Hercules, and you're just in the back of this Herc, and you fly into Afghan. And as soon as you get into Afghan, all the lights go off, engine cuts, everything, and they sort of just glide it down. And at the time, you're there, you've got your weapon, and you put it barrel down, and your head's down on top, just in case we get struck with a rocket or RPG or anything like that. And so we landed, and then you get issued out all your kit and your ammunition, stuff like that, and then that's it. Then from that point, then you spend one night in, I think we was in Kandahar. You spend one night in there, and then you get distributed within your company. So as a battalion, we'd have 3 companies, rifle companies. Then you'd have a recce platoon, sniper platoon, stuff like that, mortar platoon, and you'd be put into different areas. So then you get onto Chinooks, and then you get flown out, and that's when reality hits you. Then, so you land in Afghan, you take over the FOB, which is a forward operating base, from the last lot, and that's it. And then that's your life for the next 6 months. So
what would you say was the hardest thing to adjust to while you were there?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for me personally, it was the lack of proper food.
Okay.
Yeah. So you was a lot of the time you was on rations.
Yeah.
So you get the army rations, and
I've had a few of them.
Yeah. And just adjusting to that sort of lifestyle when you're out there. You're shitting in a bag.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So I've spoke to some other veterans as well, and they've said the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
The heat as well, the smells.
Yeah.
So it's just
trying
to adjust to all of that stuff is sometimes harder than the actual being there.
Going out on your first patrol, you go out on your first patrol and you're thinking, fuck me, and you get back in and nothing's happened, and you're like, and you kind of getting this full sense of security, but then you hear on the radio, you come back from patrol and you'll hear that,
IED's gone off, or
someone's been injured, and I used to call it op blackout. So we'd have a sat phone which you could call home on, but obviously we only have like one. And but when op blackout kicked in was when someone had been injured or
Yeah.
killed. So you couldn't call home and tell the press and that. So you'd have it got to the point where our blackout was at least once a day.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Now that wasn't just in our area; that was across the entire battle group. But you knew that something serious had happened every single day. And but yeah, you make light of it all. You sort of get used to it, and you try and make it as homely as possible. And it just becomes part of way of life.
Would you say that's like a coping mechanism for most?
I think so, but I think it all stems back to your training about that breaking you down and getting on with it. You're there to do a job. Get on with it. No one really feared. No one would really fear. I wouldn't say not fear death. You should fear death. Everyone should fear death.
Yeah.
But it was just like there was no hesitation. That's what we're there to do. We're going to go out and do it. And everyone was in the same boat, So no one would sit there whinging. No one would sit there complaining about it. It was all just like, this is what we've got to do. No one, So it was that camaraderie and that sense of belonging again, and that really taught me that, the power of the people is really important. You can't just have one dictator there shouting and telling everyone what to do. The power of the people, and you find that throughout the training, a rank that was training you, you would never refer to them as their name or anything like that. It was always their rank and this, that, and the other. All very, strict, which it has to be. And even when you get to battalion, as a new draft, as a crow bag, when you get there, you're in an 8-man room and this, that, and the other. And
crow bag.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh. Yeah, I know. It makes me laugh every time I hear it.
Yeah. And, so, but I remember when we went out to Afghan, all of a sudden rank is it's irrelevant. Everyone has a role. So you've got the platoon leaders, you've got the 2 ICs, you've got the commanders, you've got all that. But because you're all experiencing the same thing, and a lot of us were experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah.
It just broke down those sort of barriers,
like the
those sort of constructs. Yeah. And but it's really weird because then when you return and you're in camp, it's back to it again. Do you know what I mean? But you make such good friends. So yeah, it was a learning curve, put it that way.
How long did you serve?
Overall, just short of 8 years.
Okay.
So yeah.
Was there a particular reason why you left, or?
Yeah, it got too political.
Okay.
And in a sense that, so there was a lot of kickback, like I said, about the fact that we was not prepared for a war in the Middle East because all of our stuff was essentially Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of political pressure back home. And again, I wasn't aware of that back then. Not big shit about politics or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't tell you who the Prime Minister was at the time. Do you know what I mean? But on the second tour in 2010, we had a lot of political decisions coming through the line in terms of we were getting quite a bad press back home. So, for example, we had to PID any single target or prescribed enemy.
Yeah. So what's for people who don't know what PID is?
So PID is positively identify them.
Okay.
So we have a rules of engagement as well. So you have a card alpha. It's a rules of engagement. So for example, if someone was to come out and shoot me or shoot one of my friends, but then drop the weapon and turn around, you're not allowed to shoot him.
Okay.
You're not allowed to shoot him back. Yeah. So these rules of engagement, which they don't play by, but we had to play by.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where, so you would get followed by what we used to call dickers. So if you were out on patrol, a dicker would follow you. It'd just be on a mobile phone. It'd be relaying the information where you are, where you're heading, how many of you are, this, that, and the other. It'd be relaying that information onto, so they could set you up for an ambush or, just watch you every day. Now, we've never done the same route, but, there's only so many routes you can do.
Yeah, of course.
So they would watch you and put IEDs in areas where they knew you would go to and stuff like that. You used to be able to, in the first time, Dickers were a threat. But because of the political pressure back home, you weren't allowed to then engage with Dickers. So it got to the point where you could fire a warning shot, but you couldn't actually, if they refused to leave or move,
nothing you could do
there's nothing you could do. And I feel that ultimately led to a few deaths. And then it got to the point where if we were out on patrol, especially in Kabul, so we've done a stint in Kabul as well, in the main city. And if you're out in Kabul, you know, we had vehicle-borne IEDs, RC IEDs, you know, all sorts of IEDs, but the big one was in the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you would go out on patrol, especially in a city environment like that in Kabul, you go out on patrol and you always had to keep your wits about you, checking your 5s and 20s, which is 5 meters, 20 meters, making sure that you'd carry an ECM. So there was 5 ECM packs, which are electronic countermeasures for IEDs, for different types of IEDs.
Mm-hmm.
Big, heavy bits of equipment.
Yeah.
But you had to, and they created a bubble essentially around the guy wearing them, and you had to maintain the sort of distancing so that everyone was protected within the bubble. But a vehicle-borne IED is someone essentially just driving a bomb straight into you.
Mm.
And we had a situation in Kabul actually on my first tour out there, and we was out on patrol, and a vehicle was coming down. It wasn't stopping, so fired a warning shot, and then the rear gunner at the back with the LMG, he dropped down, legs out, ready to engage. Fired a couple of shots, kept coming. So then just let it burst up, straight up the engine and into the windows. Anyway, the vehicle veered off and ultimately killed the driver and one of the passengers. But this car was absolutely screaming towards them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as it turned out, the driver of the car was actually, and the passenger, he was late apparently to his own wedding. And so, but instead of stopping, he was just keep coming, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's an unfortunate situation born out of not listening to the, not listening to the rules and not playing the game. But the political press back home, it turned out that the guy was actually an Afghan general's son.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, there's a shitstorm in a teacup. The guy, I won't say his name, but he ended up actually being taken home, and I believe he got given a new identity.
Oh wow!
Because it was that much, it blew up that much
heat. Yeah.
And so it got to the point then after that where you'd go out on patrol and they gave you like a high visibility armband, so and shamulis, which were like little mini flares. And then, so the whole process with a vehicle-borne IED coming towards you, or a suspected vehicle, you had to first put your arm up with a high visibility armband on.
Basically a glow-in-the-dark target.
Target practice.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to fire off your little shamuli, which is the size of a pen. You'd flick it and it'd fire off a little flare.
Okay.
And then, only then, could you then bring your weapon round and fire a warning shot. Can you imagine this whole process, and then that, and then
if someone's driving at you at 60 mile an hour,
and again,
got a lot of time to.
That again was born by political pressure, along with PIDing every single suspected enemy, and you had to PID them before you could engage them. So you're sitting there, and you're thinking they're setting us up for an ambush, or they're firing pot shots at you, or this, that, and the other. And a lot like today, still in the Middle East, they use the civilian population to hide amongst and this, that, and the other. So it's very, very difficult. And it just made our job a lot harder and restricted the ability to be able to be,
efficient.
Productive and efficient. Yeah, exactly. So, and unfortunately on my last tour, I lost a couple of good friends. Real good guys.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Just real good guys, and that really was quite tough. That was quite tough, and everyone everyone in the battalion, it was sort of like we didn't see each other because we were separated in our companies and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, my old company that I was in was the one that unfortunately took the most casualties on that one. And yeah, it just changed your whole outlook on it. You sort of come back and you think, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? What's the point?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that was the biggest motivator. And then again, I got to that point in my life where I was like, I've done this for too long now. I'm actually getting a bit, I don't want to progress in the army.
Yeah.
I don't want to go up the ranks. You know, some people there, credit to them, you know, they go up and they become the highest ranks and they have a full-on 40-year career in the army.
Yeah.
That weren't for me.
No.
So yeah, I put my papers in and decided to leave.
Yeah. So you was what age when you left?
When I left, I was, what was I then? I was about 24.
Okay, so still pretty young.
Well, no, sorry, I would have been older. I was 25.
25. Yeah, still pretty young though.
Yeah, still young. Yeah.
So what did you do when you left?
So yeah, when I left, again, it's another part of my life where who knows what I can do, you know. And in the army back then as well, you always used to get told, if you leave the army, you're going to get employed because everyone, you know, you've got discipline.
I think that's like a bit of a myth.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because most people go, oh, you're ex-military, you'll get a job doing anything.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute myth. But you know, you think, well, why wouldn't anyone employ me? Why wouldn't I? You know what I mean? I've got discipline, I've got timekeeping. You know, I'm committed. I do all this. You know, why wouldn't anyone employ me? But when I left, I moved back down here, and I really struggled to find anything, you know. All I got from the army was I got my driving licenses. Yeah. So I got my class 2 and my class 1.
It's like HGV.
Yeah, but I'd never driven one. I only going up and doing my test. Used to go up to Leckensfield and we had to have. This is how mad it was. So to drive an armoured vehicle, you had to have a class 2 license, so a HGV license, because of the weight. Even
though you was in a different country.
Yeah, and obviously driving it around, on Salisbury Plain and stuff like that. But because of the weight classes, so because you put the armour on, an armoured Land Rover was classed as a HGV.
Oh wow!
Because of the weight, because it had an extra ton of armour on it. Mm-hmm. So you've got all these, but it was the same with a lot of guys that left at that time. They had their driving licenses, but they'd never really driven a lorry, and then that's the only opportunity they had. So they're going to driving. So I went into driving lorry. I fucking hated it. I was just on my own all the time, and that's what I didn't want to be. And I was on my own. So I went
long days as well, isn't it?
Yeah, long days, and you've got your driver's hours, and you've got to do all this and blah blah blah. But it was kind of like come out, and all of a sudden it's like my life had completely changed. All of a sudden, it wasn't I could pop down the lines and go and see a mate or do all this, and you realise that when I come out, it took me a long time to adjust and to understand that civilians, their minds work completely different to soldiers. Like completely different. Like the banter we used to have in the army. I mean, it's dark banter, right?
Yeah.
It was, we'd take the piss. You'd see someone, it was never all right, mate. It's like, what are you doing, dickhead? Fucking shit nose. You'd just be horrible to each other. But that was...
Yeah, that's showing the love, really. Yeah, if you get called something, the worse it is, the more love you.
You see something going, you've got your fucking nose fixed yet? It's been all these years. And this, do you know what I mean? And it was just banter. You do that out here in Civvy Street, and I found that in Civvy Street, I was like, mate, what is going on?
They get upset quick.
Yeah, like really quick. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, done some driving jobs. Hated them. Done removals for a bit. Mm-hmm. Hated that. Absolutely hated that. And then I thought, well, what can I do? And at this point then I was on my 3rd child. So I'd had 2 with my previous. So my daughter when I was 17, I had another child with her, and then I separated from her before my last tour in Afghan. And then when I came out, I got with my current wife, who's my wife now.
Yeah.
And we had a son. And it was kind of like my life was repeating itself again. I sat there and I thought, I've got to do more. I've now got my son here. And it just felt like I was exactly the same place I was when I was 18. Do better.
But just 8 years later.
Yeah. And it was weird. It was a weird feeling. But again, I just had that in me that it's like, well, go and do something. So I thought, well, I'm going to set up a business. I thought, I'm done with working for people. I'm done with working on my own. So yeah, I went and set up a business. And I took my last paycheck from the job I was on. I went and bought a van for a few £100 and a bit of equipment to start doing scaffolding.
Okay.
And the only reason I've done scaffolding is because you have to learn from experiences around you. So you have to. There's no point doing something that do something that you've never done. But if you're gonna do it, make sure that you understand a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So every job that I went into, I was taking that experience from it and understanding how it operated and how it would work and this, that, and the other. So where I'd done scaffolding for a little bit as a driver and a labourer, and then I thought, well, fuck me, I need to do better than this. I took my experience and took what I'd learned from it and watched how you could do it, how you could set up a business and this, that, and the other. And so I took that with me, and I went and bought a van. I went and bought a little bit of gear, and I made up a load of business cards, and I just went round and I spent about 4 days just driving around, just giving out my card to every single van I saw, just introducing myself. Look, guys, take a card. Cool. And I got a job. Nice. I got my first job. And a good friend of mine that I grew up with, he was, he still is, a scaffolder. And so I thought, look, I need your help. You come on and I'll pay you. And this, that, and the other, and do it for me. So yeah, it started off as a little side thing, but didn't take that long to become like full time. And I put up my first job, and when I got paid for it, I literally just paid me mate, and then the rest of the money I went and just bought more equipment. I just thought, you've got to, in this business, you need the materials are so important. You need the assets there in order to do your job, right? If I had just gone and took that money and gone, sweet, done, I wouldn't have gone anywhere, right? So I spent about 2 years just doing the same thing, getting a job up,
just building
paying
up
people,
slowly,
brick
by brick, essentially.
Yeah. And I within 2 years, I started off with myself, my mate, and a little labourer, and then within 2 years, I was running 3 gangs. I had a bigger yard, I had a load of equipment, I was taking on contracts, and it just grew, and it grew quite rapidly.
Yeah.
And along the way, I've had people come in with, they wanted to come in and invest, but really their intentions were just to
pull a fast one.
Yeah, pull a fast one and just try and make more money for themselves. And I ended up, for a long time, for quite a long period, I ended up running around doing all the legwork, whilst another guy that had come in and put a bit of money into it was actually using it for his own gains.
Okay.
Put money in from his other income and take it out tax free and this and the other. But at the same time, I wasn't really taking away from it. And I was running around, I was dealing with all sorts of stuff, and I remember I sat there at Christmas and I didn't have any money. And I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on? Do you know what I mean? I've got like 9 blokes that are working for me.
Yeah.
They've all got paid. They've got money for Christmas.
Got a pot to piss in.
I ain't got a fucking pot to piss in, right? And I knew there was a big payment coming in. So I thought, right, well, I'm going to get hold of this payment and I'm going to go and treat my family and go and get some gifts and this, that, and the other. And so as soon as that money come in, I took it out and I went and got sorted for Christmas. And the guy that was involved, he phoned me up and said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm not going into Christmas with no money. I've worked my fucking arse off. You know what I mean? For what? And he said, well, you'll never do that again. And I said, no, I'm done. I'm done. I don't. I was quite naive in business because I'd never done it.
Yeah, I think a lot of new starters are
Yeah.
because there's no lessons. The only way to learn for the regular person is to give it a try.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's
what I mean.
the hardest lessons
you've
you
got
have to
fail.
learn. Yeah,
you've got to fail. You know, and I thought, well, I'm failing at it right now. So what I need to do is make a drastic change. And I thought, oh, fuck it. So anyway, after that, I parted ways with him, and I then thought, fuck, what do I do now? Because I was still running the business, but this guy had kind of like come in and was advising me and this, that, and the other on how to run a business and this, that, and the other. And I thought, without him, I'm fucked, right? But I thought, you've got to stick to your morals. You have to be convicted in your morals. You have to stick to you know, what you feel. And so yeah, I just carried on. And then again, a few years down the line, I saw another opportunity where I was doing scaffolding for property management companies that were managing, you know, big blocks of flats and stuff like that. I thought, I'm doing their scaffold, but I know guys, and I was doing work for a lot of guys that were good builders, decorators, this, that, and the other. And so I thought, well, why can't I just utilise on this and go and actually speak to the managers of these, or the owners of these managing agents, and go say, look, I can get it when you put works out for tender. So when you get a block that needs renovating, you're going to put that out for tender. You're going to get 3 different quotes, right? But you're getting all different trades in separately. What about if I can create a complete package to tender for that works and do all of the works within it instead of finish? So, you know, I've got a painter, I've got a builder, I've got a roofer, I've got this, and I've got the scaffolding, and then I can give you a reduced rate on the scaffolding for a little cut of the overall job. So therefore, I'm not losing anything, and I'm going to gain momentum and have longevity with works. So I've done it, and I just walked in, told them what I wanted to do, said, look, you can say yes or no, that's up to you, but this is what I'm offering, and they went with it. Nice. And so I went into doing building.
That's quite ballsy to just put it on them like that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. Like, you've got to look at. There's an opportunity everywhere. There's an opportunity in every single situation. It's whether you choose to see it or not. And that's what's sort of driven, and that's how my mind works all the time. You know, you look at something and you think, well, that's not very good, but there's an opportunity in that, or there's a learning experience in that. So even if something's tough and really bad for you, and this and the other, it's a learning experience, because you're gonna go through that experience, and if you haven't learned anything at the end of it, then what's the point? You need to go through, and you need to have learned something from every single situation in your life. Otherwise, you're not a very smart person if you don't learn from your experiences. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you just kind of get caught in limbo as well, don't you? Just doing the same thing
and don't be scared.
Over and over again, and expecting a different result.
Yeah, and don't be scared to fail.
Yeah.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, right? You have to learn from every single time you've done it, learn from every failure, adapt and improvise your structure and your strategy to push forward and achieve what you want to do. Or if you think that, do you know what, it's not for me, park it. You know, stick it there. It's not going to go anywhere. If you want to go back to it, of course you can. You know, and so done that, and at that point then, I started getting quite heavily involved with the politics.
Yeah, that was the next.
Yeah. So I started getting involved with the politics.
So what was your initial eye opener? Is probably the right.
I think it was. Do you know what? It was to do with Brexit.
Okay.
And seeing the divide in the country, like it was just mad. The Remain and the Leave thing, and I didn't really know too much about it, but I sort of started looking into it, and the EU, for me, the EU had more problems than benefits. And so I started looking, they wanted to create an EU army, and, they were like sort of taking away all the fishing rights of our country and pushing laws through, and the ECHR and all that stuff, and just saw all that stuff. And I looked at both sides, the positives of being in the single market and having a thriving economy and this, that, and the other. But that's sugarcoating the reality of having a single market economy, because as a country, all of our infrastructure was gone. Mm-hmm. So we were doing was importing. We don't
really produce anything.
We produce nothing. So where are the benefits to that of paying to be a membership and then also not being a productive country?
No.
So the finance sector was the only productive thing in this country, as it still is in London, in central London. And I thought, what really swayed my decision to really get involved in politics was, at that time then, I really started seeing the rise of this leftist sort of crazy, intolerant ideology sort of creeping up, where it was like, start labeling people. If you're Brexit, you're a fucking scumbag. You're this, racist, you're that, you're racist, you're fascist. And it was like, whoa, like, what's all that about? Do you know what I mean? This isn't about anything other than a decision to whether we stay as part of the EU or we try to, better ourselves as a country, because no other country in the EU imports as much and doesn't export as much as what we do. And it was like crazy. And when Greece, especially prior to the Brexit, when Greece went bankrupt, you could see it coming a mile away, and it was all formulated and calculated by the EU to essentially start taking the resources out of Greece, so bankrupt them. And I saw that, and I saw the way they treated it, and I thought, mate, that's the problem. When you've got a big organisation, unelected organisation, that can implement different things on different countries without it ever going to a vote, it's a problem, right?
Yeah, of course.
And the EU was set up after the Second World War, the UN and the EU and all. I mean, the EU was a bit further on, but essentially the same sort of practice. Make Europe as one whole entity to protect itself against tyrannical dictators and stuff like that, and another world war. But then in the same breath, you're creating a dictatorship because you have complete control over every member state.
Yeah.
And you're not elected there.
No, of course.
And so I thought, that's a bad, there's only bad that could come out of that, because people take power in different ways. Mm-hmm. And if you've got the wrong people there that take part, it can very soon, go
shift to a different gear.
And just that then I just started getting really involved and just switching on more and listening and watching. And so that was, how long was it? 2016, wasn't it? So, 9 years ago nearly. And so that's what got me involved in politics. But at the same time, I was just trying to build my business up again.
That was your main focus.
My main focus. It was an observation at the time.
Yeah.
But I've watched that grow.
Yeah.
And unfortunately the people on that side, I don't even want to say a side, but it is. That's how divided by the way. Those leftist ideologies of sort of suicide by empathy and intolerance, and I started watching the way that they were creating sort of charities and stuff like that weren't really as what they say on the surface, like you've got the unions and this, that and the other, and stand up to racism. And I thought, mate, these are it's very, very clever of them, the way they're doing it, but they're infiltrating every aspect now of our lives. They're infiltrating the education system, they're infiltrating governments, local councils. They've got these NGOs that masquerade as, anti-racism, but now it's gone to the point where they don't even care no more. They're literally shouting anti-Semitic, racist stuff.
You've only got to turn the news on now, and
but it's not them ones that you want to. It's not the ones that shout loudest that you want to be weary of. It's the ones that work in the background, and the ones that go through these political parties and end up taking over, and they're the ones. And I've seen that creeping in, and I've seen the detriment to this town for the last 10 years of that sort of ideology coming in,
Yeah.
and you got, you know, the Conservative Party didn't see it for what it was at all.
No.
They just chose to ignore it, and unfortunately, a lot of the Conservative Party, they were very self-serving. They just wanted to, you know, make a load of money for themselves. Didn't give a
Yeah,
fuck.
I think COVID proved that.
COVID was it, yeah. Again, COVID is another mad time. But yeah.
You was with Reform at one point.
Yeah.
Where you stood by Reform.
Yeah.
Why was that your party?
Yeah. So
why did you lean towards them?
So it was last year, really, when Reform. So Nigel Farage set up, you know, he set up UKIP, and I think he set up another one prior to that as well. But again, I didn't really vote. I mean, I voted Conservative when it was between Jeremy Corbyn and Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was a lesser of two evils there. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so when he set up Reform, it was actually not so much Nigel Farage, but Zia Youssef, who was the party chairman. I just found him really good, and he's an Asian man himself.
Yeah.
And you know, I thought he puts the case forward so well, you know, and he cannot be intimidated by these left wing, you know, racists, because you know he's got brown skin. Do you know what I mean? And he's talking to the people and saying, look, forget this noise. These are the realities of what's happening in this country, and we need to fix it. And I thought, okay, prior to that, I felt a bit politically homeless. And I never really thought about getting involved in politics. I thought that's a completely different, you know, that's
shift.
way out of my remit to go into politics. Not because I'm not capable, but just because I didn't know how you could ever get into it.
Yeah. It's not something that you're taught in school.
No.
Not something that you discuss over dinner on a Tuesday night or anything like that. So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
But as it was really affecting my life, it was affecting the business. It was affecting
taxes and stuff through the roof,
and everything like that. And I suppose you get to an age, you know, I'm 40 next year. And you get to an age, and especially raising family and that, and you think, mate, there's so much better stuff that we could be doing. And it's just not happening. And it just seemed like everything was just red tape all the time. Oh, you can't do this. Why can't you? You can't do this, can't do this, can't do that. You know, and it just got worse and worse and worse. So last year, after the general election, and Labour got in, I thought, mate, what the hell's going on? And so I joined the Reform Party. And
just as a member,
I think it was like 25 quid or something. But I thought, you know, I want to see exactly what they're going to do. So, like I said, I didn't know any way into getting into politics. But I thought, if I become a member, maybe I can go to a conference and maybe I can then see exactly how it all works. Like I said, every experience I've had throughout my life, you've got to take what you can from it. You know, you've got to start understanding it, so then you can put that into effect. And so I thought, well, I'll just join the party, right? So I joined the party, and I got an email a couple of days later, actually, from the local branch in Hastings, and it said we're having a meeting. So I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right, so I'll see what this is all about. I went into it thinking there's going to be loads of people, we're going to have a hall in this house. It wasn't. It was above the Carlisle pub in Hastings, right, in the town. So anyway, I went down there, and there's about 5 people. And I was like, this is surreal, right? So I'm up there, and there's about 5 people, and the chairman there, he had obviously set it up. And when he started talking, you know, welcomed me and this, that, and the other, started talking, and he just said, I've been up to HQ, and I've had lessons on how to talk to people on the doorstep and this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay, so when are we starting? Well, what do you mean? I said, well, when are we starting? Are we going to engage with people? Because, you know, we're supposed to, and this was, you know, after we'd had our elections cancelled, local elections. I thought, you know, we've got to engage. People have got to know who we are down here, right? And at the first meeting, I thought, I'm not going to have much effect now. Do you know what I mean? But I mentioned it, and so I thought, okay, the next meeting, a month later, there was a couple more people there, but no one really. Maybe 2 that were actually Hastings. The rest are like Rye area and stuff like that. It went on to then about leafleting, and I put some ideas forward and said, look, why don't we create a video and stuff like that and put it on a QR code that you can then put onto leaflets, or get the Facebook page up and running. And it was all, and he sort of said, the chairman went, well, the old candidate from last year has got hold of the Facebook page. I said, we'll create another one. Well, no, we can't really do that, and this, that, and the other. And it was always, I just felt like it was the same old shit.
Same old red
Can't
tape.
do this, can't do that. Why? Do it. You know what I mean? And so I stuck at it and just kept putting ideas forward and said, look, why don't we go out and engage with the public? Why don't we change the venue and try and bring more people in, and this, that, and the other, and really grow it down here, you know what I mean? And for about 3 months, it was just the same stuff. And anyway, in the end, I started growing. There was more and more people coming. And so I said, look, we need to have another venue. Maybe we should do 2 meetings a month. That's what he suggested. So I said, all right. So I spoke to a friend of mine that he owns the old rectory in town, Lionel. He's a really good friend of mine. And I said, Lionel, would you mind if we can use your facilities to have a meeting here once a month? I said, it won't be announced or anything like that, because obviously I know you don't want to be politically involved, but as a friend, am I allowed to use it? Went, yeah, sure, no worries. So then what happened was, I informed the chairman of that, and then literally a couple of days later, he put a post up on Facebook.
Okay.
On the Facebook page, which he said he hadn't.
Weren't going to do.
So all of a sudden, they'd set up another one.
Yeah.
And then they'd put a post up, and then he'd put a post up. And on that post, he gave dates, times, and locations of the meetings. Well, with that, all the left rabble have come out. They've started threatening both venues. Yeah. We can close you down. You're racist. It is. I mean, Lionel, who owns the rectory, he's a gay man.
Okay.
He's a gay man. So, like, for the left to attack a gay man, successful gay man who's created successful business, that's complete hypocrisy, right? But it was purely because the chairman had decided to put this post out on Facebook, right? So then with that,
was there any like threats or anything like that?
Yeah, so there was threats, and I was. Lionel, he rang me up and said, look, I'm getting a lot of heat here on our page, on our Facebook page, and online, and reviews and this, that, and the other.
Well, it can have a big effect on the business.
Yeah, it's a business, right? So anyway, I said, listen, just put an announcement there out saying you're not doing it. I said, I'll share it as well. We'll do that, right? So anyway, done that. But the Carlisle, which is predominantly, a bikers pub and a veterans pub as well, she took a lot of shit, the amount of abuse that they had, and they even threatened to harm her children.
Wow.
Yeah, like proper extreme shit, right? And that really fucking just rolled me up to the point where I'm thinking, these people need to be stopped. They've been emboldened far too much. They're emboldened. They're really pushing the limits of what should be allowed.
Yeah.
And I thought, right now they are the ones with the loudest voices, and they're cancelling and they're threatening and they're doing all this. And I thought, nah.
Yeah, I think threats to children is
threats to children, mate. Like
a different level of evil, I think.
You know what I mean? And most people just want to come
on either side.
Yeah,
like just that should be a line that people just shouldn't cross.
Absolutely,
in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And especially over, like political, a political party. Anyway, so that happened, and both the venues obviously then pulled out.
Yeah.
So then had to find another venue to have the meetings, and luckily Lee up at the Winchelsea Lodge offered up the services, and he's great. He don't care. He gets all the left shit. He's put like 20 flags up outside the lodge and that. You know, fuck them. You know, what they're going to do? They're going to shout and holler and they're going to do this. But at the end of the day, stand by your convictions. And that's it. Be bold. Do you know what I mean?
I think people should be proud to fly their flag.
Absolutely.
Of their own country.
No,
people are quick to put up a flag of anything else.
Yeah.
But as soon as it's
but seeing the council,
anything to do with Britain,
seeing the council now that, I mean, you watch the sorry, going back to the reform thing. So yeah, so then we changed venue and we went up to Winchelsea Lodge.
Yep.
And we've done a couple of meetings up there, but again, it was the same old stuff. Nothing really was happening. I kept putting forward stuff. People were coming and then they were leaving. They were disingenuine by it, a lot of it, because the chairman, the branch wasn't moving anywhere. He wasn't doing anything constructive. You know, Lee said, why don't we have a family day? Or you can host it up here. A family day where you could get families up, you can generate a bit of revenue for the cause, for the branch, also raise awareness and this, that, and the other. I thought, why don't we do that? Nothing. And then it got to Christmas, and then unfortunately the Tory councillor in this area died.
Oh, okay.
Which prompted a by-election. I mean, they didn't want to do a by-election at first, they were going to leave it, but it prompted a by-election. And at that point, then I thought, well, I am one of only a handful of actual local people in this branch.
Yeah, because you actually live in the branch.
Yeah, because I actually live in this. I live in this division.
Yeah,
and so I thought, well, how do I go about putting my name forward? Because I thought I can't just keep sitting here listening to the chairman.
Rabbit on.
He's the only one with direct access and communication to headquarters where you can make decisions and stuff like that. And so he said, well, you've got to put an application in. You've got to be vetted, right? Fair enough. So I've done the vetting process. I filled in the form. You put picture yourself and this, that, and the other. Sent it off, and that was in January. And didn't hear nothing back for months. Kept going to these meetings. Again, no progress, no nothing, all hot waffle. And then what happened was, we done one meeting over in Rye, and I went over to it as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I wanted to help. I wanted to be there. I wanted to real push for community engagement and to see, you know, to show people how we can change things and this, that, and the other. And essentially, you know, stop the Greens and the Lib Dems and that down here, just literally, you know, just growing their little cult of just intolerant, nasty people, just shouting at, you know, calling everyone racist and fascist and doing little vanity projects in town instead of dealing with the real issues. And so I went over to this one meeting, and that's when a guy called Aidan turned up for the first time. And he was an all right guy, do you know what I mean? Nice guy, a bit soft. Didn't really say much. We had the meeting, again, a bit pointless, but left that meeting. And then that was the only one we done in Rye.
Yeah.
And then we went back to the ones in Winchelsea Lodge, and we went back there, and about 3 months later, the by-election had actually been called.
Okay.
So this was around about September, I believe.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I still haven't heard anything back from the vettings team about my application. And the chairman, he said to me, okay, I'll find out what's going on. All right, cool, no worries. So then the next meeting, next month, when it come around, we'd been told that there was 8 prospective candidates that could stand in
potentially
Hastings,
to be
right? So it was the case of, you know, we're all talking amongst ourselves and we're going, okay, so they're gonna bring these people in, they're all gonna say their piece, and we're gonna vote as a branch.
Democracy.
And anyway, so that never happened. Wow. And then when I went to the September meeting, I believe it was September, the chairman actually announced that Aidan, who hadn't been there, he turned up at the Rye one, and then he turned up 3 months later again at the Winchelsea Lodge one. And it was clear that at that point then he had put his nomination in. I don't know how, I think he's quite good friends with the chairman of the local branch as well. And He'd put his nomination in. He'd got a response. He'd got accepted, and all of a sudden, he's the nomination. And so I went in pretty pissed off. I really went in pissed off. I thought, "No, fuck this. What's going on? You know, this is where." What happened was the branch is not an actual affiliated branch, because to be an affiliated branch, you have to. There was a time at your AGM, annual general meeting, you have to get 45, I believe, paid up members in there to actually be recognised as a registered branch. Mm-hmm. But anyone can apply to stand, because that just goes up to the vetting process. So I don't blame the Reform Party HQ. But basically, what happened was then I went in there. I wasn't happy. And I went in there and I told them about I wasn't happy. I'm the best candidate. This Aidan Fisher guy, he doesn't even live in Hastings. He's never lived in Hastings. Mm. He lives in his father-in-law's estate, which is a huge estate.
I've seen photos.
Yeah, you've seen photos, right? They rent out apartments there for $3,500 a week, and this, that, and the other. He's bored. He wants to go and do something. Yeah. You know, he never turned up and put any positive ideas. He never spoke about the town in any way, shape or form.
And he doesn't reside in Hastings either, does he?
No, doesn't reside in Hastings. So I thought he's a bad option. I'm the best option. I would be the best option here. But I have not heard back from the vettings team. So I pulled it up in front of everyone in the meeting. And everyone stood up and shook my hand at the end and said, good, fucking right. Yeah, we don't believe he's the right candidate. I don't know what's going on. What's happened to them 8 supposed candidates that were supposed to vote through. But again, that's all dealt with local branch issues, nothing to do with reform. So anyway, I approached him and I said, look, what's going on? He goes, I'll find out. So anyway, he called me later that night and he said, I've got to the bottom of it. Basically, you're not a paid up member. I said, what are you on about? He said, you're not a paid up member. I said, well, I've got a membership number. And it turned out what happened was, I didn't click auto renew on the membership. So it didn't auto renew. So it actually expired in July.
Okay.
Right. And as part of the conditions to stand, you have to be a paid up member for 180-day consecutive period.
Yeah.
But where my membership had lapsed and didn't auto renew, all of a sudden it was, so I was like, well, hold on, that was 2 months ago. You never told me this. And he said, well, that's the rules. You've got to be 180 days consistent. So even though you've renewed it now, you've had a break in your membership. So I was pissed off. But I was like, listen, I've got to stick by the values of reform. This is the local branch. I can fucking have a voice. I will, push for change and this, that, and the other. And I'll just have to back him. I'll have to back him. So I made that choice in my head and I thought, okay, fine. Then what happened was, a few days later, I then got an email from the vettings team at Reform HQ.
Yeah.
And they sent me an email and it said that I hadn't passed vetting due to a Facebook post. And it had the link on it. So I thought, well, this is weird, because a couple of days ago, I was getting told by the chairman that
it was because of your membership.
I wasn't a paid up member. So I thought it was really, really weird. Anyway, I looked on the link, and it was a photo of my wife on our honeymoon, getting out of the pool. It was nothing, like nothing at all. So I thought, even that, all of a sudden alarm bells ringing in my head, thinking, what's going on here? What's going on? And so I responded. I didn't get a response. And I went to see the chairman and I said, look, you're telling me one thing.
They're telling me
another. Nothing's adding up here. I think this is a little inside job. And I can't be a part of it. I cannot stand to support Aidan, because I don't think he's got the belief and the will to do anything for Hastings.
Yeah.
I do. So I'm going to stand on my conviction. I stand by Reform's values nationally. I stand by them as an insurgent party to come in. I believe everything what they say at a national level, but local, no, you can't. He's the wrong person. He's just the wrong person for it. I thought, I've got to stick by my conviction and actually stand up and do something about it. And to coincide with that, it then came out that there's a strong possibility that local elections next year will be cancelled as well because of the devolution. It still hasn't happened, and you've got councillors from Conservatives and Labour and that writing saying we need more time, delay it, all tactical shit, right?
Yeah, of
But I
course.
thought, well, if I don't do anything now, I could potentially sit on my hand for another 2 years, and I'm not willing to do that.
No.
So I need to stand up now and make a fucking change. So I informed them that, look, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to back you. He's not the right person for the job. And I'll suffer the consequences of whatever happens. I don't care, because I believe in making a change for this town. I believe in putting myself out there and really trying to find solutions and pragmatic ways to change a town without waiting for funding from, central government or East Sussex County Council. I thought there's so many things you can do, initiatives and stuff like that, that you can rally around, and these can't be suppressed by the left and by the the Green Party and stuff like that, because they're good, positive things for the community, right? And one of them is, like I say, the fishing. Revitalise the fishing industry. And so that's why I thought, right, well, I've got to stand as an independent. And again, didn't really know how to do it, but looked it up, went and put my papers in, and here I am.
When you made that decision, did you get much pushback from like family, friends?
No. So I've got no pushback. No, because everyone that knows me knows my conviction and knows that I won't align with party politics if it's at the detriment to the root cause. The end goal. At the end of the day, I'm an individual that believes in change and believes that I can push for that change. I don't care whether I'm under a banner or not. I will do that. And my friends and family, they all understand that. I got a little bit of kickback from members,
reform members.
Yeah, they are not really bad. They all absolutely loved me. They all agreed that I was the better choice. But they said, look, you're just going to split the vote. You're going to split the vote. You're going to split the vote, and you're going to get one of the others in. And I said, well, at the end of the day, listen, it's a by-election. I'd rather take my chances now than do it on, the local elections when it comes to selecting an MP or a mayor and this, that, and the other. At least now, even if we do have elections, it's only going to be a year's posting anyway, right? So what does it matter? But the difference that I can make in a year, as opposed to the difference that Aidan can make in a year, is phenomenal. It's huge. So I thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. And so, but it's a real uphill, it's a real battle for me, because where I'm not party affiliated, but I do stand on reforms values nationally. It's kind of like, how do I sell myself in a way that I'm not saying, I'm just reform in disguise.
Reform, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Independent reform.
Yeah. I believe that local issues need local attention.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of the status quo of parachuting these people in that know fuck all about the town and know fuck all about its heritage and know fuck all about how to fix it. You know what I mean? And instead,
I think Hastings definitely needs someone with boots on the ground.
Right now, we've got
we're looking pretty desperate.
Desperate, mate. We're the top 10. We're in the top 10 most deprived areas in the UK, and in the whole southern part of the country right now, Hastings is a little black dot. Is the most deprived. Everywhere around here is booming. Hastings is dying.
Yeah.
And this is all because all we've had is vanity projects and failed projects costing millions and millions of pounds. No pragmatic solutions, no thinking. In East Sussex County Council, who ultimately I will then be sitting on if I win as a councillor, they've done nothing. They've done nothing for the town either. And it's kind of like, it's stagnant. The councils at the minute are stagnant. They're not doing anything. They're so party driven. So you've got the Labour lot and the Greens lot and the Lib Dems lot, and all they're doing is they're literally alienating the public and pushing their agenda and their little vanity projects.
Yeah, I think, like you said earlier, I think that everyone's focused more on the national side rather than the actual local side.
Yeah.
Where right now, locally, it is where we need the biggest change.
Yeah.
Because it's affecting all of us day to day. I want to get into some of your initiatives and stuff that you're looking to stand for. You got the 4 Cornerstone Initiative.
Yeah.
Can you run us through?
Yeah. So
what those
basically,
4 things are?
in terms of standing as an independent,
Yeah.
where I'm not standing under any party values, I really had to try and think of a way to put myself out there. So I needed a strong strategy, and I needed a strong sort of line to put out there in what I stand for and what I believe we can do. But it's really difficult to try and sort of compress that down into one leaflet or one set of ideas. So what I thought, I had all these ideas put around in my head in terms of we're in so much debt in this town. The council's in debt, right? And all we're doing is servicing that debt whilst bills are going up, council tax going up. And so the way that I feel to be stable against the economic crisis, the financial crisis that we've got right now, is to create a strong local economy and use the resources that you've already got around you in the town and get the maximum benefit out of all of the assets that you've got around you.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, the irony of Hastings Council, especially, to have a fishing boat and a fishing hut on their logo whilst they let them rot, and they say, oh, well, this is because of Brexit. It's not because of Brexit. You can still fish 4 miles off your shore. You don't have, at the minute, the fishermen are having to sell underpriced to like Brixham and stuff like that, to the main fish market.
Yeah.
A lot of it goes to Europe anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll keep hearing this thing about quotas. This bollocks, fucking bollocks. If you do community-driven incentives to revitalise our fishing heritage, not only that, if it was just any old fishing fleet, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't really matter. This is the oldest fishing fleet in the country.
Mm-hmm.
The oldest fishing fleet in the country. It has such heritage to it. We pride ourselves on that, on our logo, on all this sort of stuff. And so I thought, how can you get around that? So why don't we create a local fish market? And these are all cost-effective solutions that can drive revenue, drive tourism, and essentially reboot a main part of our town's heritage and history, and give the families some more hope, give them hope back. Do you know what I mean? So I thought, do that through an initiative, creating a fish market, local awareness, same as what we've done during COVID, that eat out to help out. Well, why can't we do something in the same lines as our fishermen in this town? So that was one idea. Then I thought of many other ideas, but where I'm involved, I do, as you know, I do football coaching.
Yes.
I coach a under-10s side, which my son actually plays on. And I've seen Leon, the guy who set the club up, as you know, he's such a great guy, and he's ended up with like over 300 kids.
Yeah.
And he's given kids,
from where he started to now, is quite phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, really, to say the least.
Because he's given, do you know what he's done? He's given kids that don't have to be good at football the chance to play. Yeah. So he's given kids a safe space to come into, and even if they're not very good at football, they're gonna get to play.
Yeah.
He'll set up another team.
Yeah.
And the problems that he's had is having the facilities and having the support as well of the council. He's done this all off his own back. And again, it's a prime example of when you get people together. The people have made this club.
Yeah.
The people, not anything outside. The people.
Yeah.
And Leon has been, doing all the legwork to set it up. And so it really made me think, well, we need to invest more in our youth, teach them the skills of teamwork and respect as well, and self-determination and all that sort of stuff. And that comes through sport.
Mm-hmm.
I think that comes through sport. We've got a prime example right now, Bulverhive pitches.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Bulverhive.
Mm-hmm.
You can barely use it. No. It's always flooded.
Yep.
15 years ago, I believe, the council spent £2 million to put drainage underneath it. It failed. So £2 million down, and we've still got all them pitches that we can't use. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, again, there's other ways where you can revitalise those pitches and give give the grassroots sports, rugby, football, whatever.
because that's a massive space, ball drive.
Massive
you could
space,
use it
right?
for,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to just be football. Like,
Why are we not
cricket pitches?
Why are we not investing in that? And if they say, "Oh, we've got no money," well, then what you do is you create another initiative, and you say, "Look, let's do this. Let's think of ways how we can do it." Now, for example, I'm not sure entirely how it will work, but I'm willing to go in and ask the bloody questions. Could we not just de-turf it, dig it up, and make it as a natural soak away, and then re-turf it again, or put 4G on it, or whatever? I doubt that's going to come anywhere close to £2 million. So it's a worthy investment. You could then create, like we used to have town sports. I think we still do town sports, but nowhere into the thing. You create a Hastings Cup, where you could have all these teams come in and play for a Hastings Cup. You're generating revenue again. You're making money. You're being able to put that back into the local economy. And you're giving them a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
You could have a cup like the League Cup. Do you know what I mean? Of Hastings.
Would youth clubs and things like that be under that sort of thing?
Absolutely, because I think any sport of any kind, even individual sport, like boxing and stuff like that. In a minute, we've got real good gyms around here that do the kickboxing and the MMA and stuff like that, and they're amazing. But we could always do more, always, because I think every child, every kid, some stage in their development of growing up needs to get into sport. They need to. It's so good for your mental health. It's so good for your physical health. Right now, we're in a world where everything's on iPads.
Yeah.
Kids are they're addicted to them. Do you know what I mean? Seeing kids be kids when they're not on their iPads.
Oh,
it warms your heart,
totally
and you see them. They're learning. Their little brains are like little sponges. And seeing the way they're respectful to each other, but at the same time they're really driven and they want to win. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to win.
No.
That's been suppressed in recent years.
Everyone's a winner.
Everyone's a winner. It's bollocks. If you want to be a winner, then you have to work harder. And that's the problem. When you take away that sense of, if you want to be the best at what you're going to do, you've got to work for it. When that's gone, it's like they expect everything to be given to them. And I think it's just creating a generation of entitled kids that think, and they're bad behaved. They're not going to go anywhere. They don't understand the realities that face them when they get out into the real world, and that's scary. And so that's another one of my initiatives. And then my other one is the amount of waste that we spend on vanity projects and bullshit projects like the A21. Ridiculous. Supposed to be a 6-week project, took over a year, cost millions. And we keep doing this same old shit. It's been the same for decades, where we pay out the way the councils work with works is they will set out annual contracts. So they will say, right, for example, I know, so with the building and the scaffolding, right? So with the scaffolding, for example, like that contract's worth like £1 million. And all they do is they say, right, we're going to give a company all of our scaffolding for a year, but you need to bid for it. Every firm needs to come in and bid and tender for the works. They don't just tender in terms of pricing it, because there's a budget there of £1 million.
Yeah.
And that's just scaffolding. So you've got scaffolding, you've then got roadworks, you then got this, you've then got that, blah, 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 all this sort of things. And it's just a monopoly for a lot of these bigger firms like Clancy and stuff like that to come in and do these works. The bus lane down on Bexhill Road.
Yeah.
I heard that somewhere it was like £3 million. I could be wrong, but even so, 10 grand's more than enough.
I know the youth club in Hollington, near Wishing, not far from Wishingtree, that they've been quoted a new roof, and that's meant to be like 2 million or something. I heard.
Crazy.
I'm not sure how true that is.
Crazy. Because they always have fat, overinflated contracts in order to attract the contractors to come and do it. But it's become an absolute monopoly for the bigger firms, and we all know there's been backhanders. I'll say that on camera, I don't care. There's been backhanders for people to win these contracts because they're huge value. So instead of sitting there and telling us we've got no money, we're in debt, we're this, that and the other, why don't we change the fucking narrative and change the strategy? So my other initiative is setting up a works task force with local businesses that are more than capable of doing the works around the town. You know, putting new roads, bit road in, doing the gardening, decorating and doing all the external painting and the roofing. All of that stuff can be achieved through using local resources.
Yeah.
Now you need to make it, as a business, you're there to make profit. You know, profit ain't a dirty word; it's a way of life.
Yeah.
Right. They're there to make profit. So how do you encourage businesses to come on board with your idea of carrying out local works? To avoid the need of giving it to one firm alone, and they've got that £1 million contract.
Yeah.
My idea would be to essentially set up a software, a program, and I've got friends that can do this. So again, it's not going to cost anything really, where you can essentially put on all of the jobs that need doing. So if there's 100 yards needs resurfacing of road on there, alongside that you have registered businesses that have been vetted.
Yeah.
And
like a My Builder sort of.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
But a local one.
Yeah.
And that way then what you could do is, instead of them tendering for the works, where you could get the same company doing the thing, you rotate it round.
Okay.
So you've got different resources for different types of works, and you rotate them round so they all get fairness. Now
everyone gets a fair share of.
Now they're still going to make profit because they are going to be a bit overinflated, as opposed to, you know, if you wanted your drive done or whatever, because you've got to allow for the traffic management and this and the other. But alongside that, what I also think would be good would be to use that facility there to involve school leavers to get hands-on experience working with these firms, okay, so they can get hands-on experience and future prospects, a career, if that's what they want to do. There's loads of non-academic kids that unfortunately aren't going to go anywhere.
Well, there's loads of kids in college now that can't get an apprenticeship.
Yeah, and there's nothing there for them, right?
One.
There's no apprenticeship schemes.
People don't want to take people on because there's no incentive.
Yeah, you know. So again, that would work, and it would serve two purposes. So you've got kids at youth that we're going to develop them, get them into sports, learn all those sort of good ethics and values. You've got revitalising our fishing fleet, so we could build a community incentive that will really drive up the revenue and the local economy as well, and keep our heritage of Hastings alive and booming and well, and bring it back to life. And then with the wasted expenditure and the school leavers, you're sort of hitting two birds with one stone there, and you're creating opportunities again. And then the last one is to look after veterans. It's very important to me to look after veterans. You know, for so long now, we've just been left. As a veteran myself, and like I've told you about the way that I look at life, there's so many guys out there like me, but unfortunately they've been hit a lot harder with the mental health problems. Yeah. But they don't need medication. They need hope. Purpose. Belonging. That's all they need. Yeah. That's all they need. And they'll be the best people for you. Yeah. And, you know.
Do you feel like when you left, you had any support? Barring your family?
No, there was no support there. You know, and I'm one of the lucky ones. I didn't experience half as much as what people that I know did, you know? And there's been an epidemic of suicides and homelessness, and I've worked with and I've been around other charities, local charities as well, and there's just no help for them. There's no help for them whatsoever, you know, and they're trying their best, and it's only down to the kindness of individuals. So, for example, I know a veterans charity that work out of Westfield, and through the kindness of the landlord of the farm, he said, "Look, you could use this facility. You can use the farmhouse. You can use this." So they've turned it into where, you know, homeless vets can come and stay. Yeah. And they can sleep there, and they do it through horticulture, so like planting and stuff like that. And they've got a couple of pigs up there, and it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff, and it's you know, they're safe there, and you know they work on them as they're up there to get them into employment and do this. I recently went to the Isle of Wight and met a guy, Dale, over there. I saw a pub right down on the seafront in the Isle of Wight called The Veteran. I thought, that was fucking
Yeah.
awesome, right? How have they done that? They must have a real good council around here, yeah, that have funded that or set it up.
Yeah.
No. So I was walking in the high street and there was a veterans hub with a few of the old boys in there. And I walked in and said hello and that. I said, you know, who set this up and blah, blah, blah. And then straight away they're like, listen, your family, get them in here, giving them sweets, giving them coffee, giving them whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Just genuine nice
people, you know. And there was this. They said, look, you need to speak to Dale. And Dale was in there at the time. And he's a very humble man. And I said, listen, I will. And they said, go down to the veteran. That's where that's Dale's place. So, okay. So I went down there, met Dale down there, and just started speaking to him. I said, mate, how'd you do all this? And he showed me around. And it's I put a post up on my Facebook actually so you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not only a pub, but it's a pub and a hotel above.
Okay.
And he's converted it so that homeless vets can come and stay.
Oh, wow.
People literally get on the hovercraft and that from Southampton, from Portsmouth, and that go over to him, and he lets them stay there for a few nights, and they can, you know, they've got.
Sometimes that's all people need is just to get back on their feet.
It's all they need, mate. It's all anyone needs. Like I say, the power of the human spirit is strong in everyone. That power of self-belief. You need to have that self-belief. It never goes away. It just gets suppressed.
Yeah.
Because you think through too many failures that you can't do anything again. And you've got to push past that. You've got to push past that. The problem with vets is that have got real PTSD issues is they've got that self-belief, but they're suffering from survivor guilt. It's a completely different thing. So that survivor guilt is what eats them up. Eats them up. They turn to drink. They try and, you know, and it's that vicious cycle. But they can get out of that. And once they've got over the survivor guilt and they've realised that, listen, you are here today because you're supposed to be. So go out and show everyone why you're still here.
Yeah.
And so what Dale done was it's amazing. I was talking to him. It's amazing. This place is amazing. It's so good. It's like being in a mess. So the mess is like sergeant's mess. It's just there's this memorabilia everywhere. There's flags. There's so much interesting stuff. And he showed me around the hotel upstairs as well. And they've got all independent rooms. They've got kitchenettes. Some of them, if they haven't got a kitchenette, it's got a communal kitchen for them. Really good. And so anyway, I asked him how he'd done it. And this guy, so what he done was 4 years ago, he said there's not really many services on the island for veterans. So what he done was, it was the anniversary of the Falklands War. And so he went to the local brewery and he asked the brewery, he said, look, I haven't got any money, but I've got an idea. And would you be willing to help me with my idea? So he said, look, what I'm asking for is if you could, for the anniversary of the Falklands War, can you rebrand one of your beers and call it the Veteran Beer? And, you know, with a percentage of the revenue made, would you then be willing to put it into my cause?
Yeah.
And they agreed.
Wow.
And this is what I mean. You don't need to go through all this shit, right? And that started, okay? So it actually boosted sales on that specific beer because it was for veterans. So they made quite a bit extra money. So they gave him the agreement. They gave him money for his cause.
Yeah.
With that money, he then went and bought a van, and he converted a van into a mobile hub where he would go around the island.
Yeah.
Anywhere that they needed him, he'd go around the island and he'd let them sit in the van and they'd have a cup of tea and a chat and this and the other. And he'd done that. And then he was walking along the high street in Ryde, where he lives, and noticed an abandoned shop. And he kept walking past. And in the end, he thought, fuck it, I'm just going to go and ask. So where he contacted the landlord and he asked them, and he said, what do you want for the shop, like for the lease and that? And they said, what do you want to do? And he said, he gave them his idea. I want to make a veterans hub, a safe space for veterans to go, a community a community hub where people can come in and talk to these guys, and they can have tea, coffee, and you can sell little things, stuff like that. And they agreed.
Wow.
And they said, what we'll do for the first 6 months, we'll give you a reduced rate rent so you can build it up.
Yeah.
He said, I've got the old boy out front. Lovely guy. He sits there. He says he does about 500 quid a week in donations.
Jesus.
Right? Now, the rent there is like 800 quid a month. With all the bills, about £1,000.
Yeah.
But they manage it.
Yeah.
They manage it. And it's all community driven. This is all through donations.
Quite impressive.
This is all through donations. So then he done that and set that up. And then a year later, he actually got a grant from the National Lottery. So he got a £20,000
Yeah,
grant.
nice.
And £20,000, it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things when you want to set something up. But he was grateful for it. You know, he was really grateful.
Yeah, anything's better than nothing. So.
Yeah. And so he went, so then his next, like I say, always looking up, never down, always looking up. That's that veteran, that's that military ethos.
Yeah.
Always look up, always look up, always look up. When he's done something, boom, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? Learn from that, use it, project it to something else. And so then he noticed the pub and hotel, derelict down on the seafront. Perfect place, right opposite the train station and the hovercraft station, this and the other. But the place was, the landlord wanted to sell it. He was adamant he wanted to sell it.
Yeah.
So anyway, he went in and he looked around with an agent and he said, "Oh, this is really good, but the landlord wants to sell." Okay, fine. So he wasn't put off by that. He went and got hold of the landlord's contact details, who lived in London.
Yeah.
He sent him an email, and Dale runs a local little drainwork company, contractor. And so he just sent an email to the business, said, "Oh, I'd like to talk to you about your pub." And the landlord rung him. And he spoke to the landlord and he said, "Look, I understand. I really like this place. Are you adamant you want to sell it?" And he went, "Yeah, I want to sell it. But what's your proposal then?"
Yeah.
So Dale told him, "I want to convert the hotel. I want to have a working revenue pub and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah." And again, the guy said, "Give me an hour." So he went off. He called him an hour later and he went, "You put a 20 grand deposit down. I'll give you a 5-year lease. Do what you need to do." And so with that 20 grand grant, there you go.
Straight to him.
And then he went in. No idea whether it would take off. No idea whether it worked. 3 years down the line, it's now a absolute centerpiece of Ride. Everyone goes to the pub. They're always putting on venues. The hotel, so half of the hotel rooms you can actually book to stay there. So it's creating a revenue because he hasn't actually got charitable status yet on the pub and the hotel. So he still has to pay the VAT. He still has to pay the corporation tax. He still has to pay all those sort of stuff. So it needed to be a working pub. Hopefully he's looking at getting the status change. But Dale is a prime example of not sitting here waiting for the state.
Yeah, what can be done.
What can be done with community-driven incentives and initiatives. You know, so the community keep that pub and hotel running. The community keep the hub running. The community galvanised around to say, "Yeah, let's do it." And all it needed was that inspiration from one individual with a heart and the determination to go and make a change. And that's exactly what I want to implement in Hastings.
Yeah, so I think on that note,
so
it's a good way to finish, I think.
Good.
Thanks for being here.
All right.
Thank you for your service, serving your country.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Personally, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And good luck with everything going on.
Brilliant.
All right, mate.
Thank you very
Nice
much.
to see you.
Lovely.
If you like the video, like, share. See you in the next one.